Lindsey, you know what?
What?
We've got a franchise movie today.
Yeah, exciting.
A storied horror franchise.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
This is our first film that is a franchise movie, am I correct?
Yeah, believe so.
We'll get to it a little later in the episode why we chose this movie, but we chose it for I think a good reason.
Yes.
Our hearts are in the right place, and let's just get going and do this thing. You want to do this thing?
Let's do it. Welcome to another episode of Die Laughing.
I'm going to say, hey, Lindsey, but I think you're chewing.
No, shut up. I'm fine. You're chewing.
It looks like there's a little extra movement going on with your mouth there. Are you miming something?
Yes. I have a mime performance coming up, and so I've been working on that.
Is the mime character someone who has a mouthful of bees?
It is actually.
Bees? Bees! You're saying bees, right? Bees! Well, Arrested Development there for you. Good to see you, my friend.
Hi, good to see you too. Hi, Bart, Shannon.
How has your time been since our last meetup?
Good. I always say we're happy and healthy here in the Roberts household, and I wouldn't ask for anything more than that. Work is always completely bananas, so my week is always insane with work and cooking. I like to cook. But yeah, everything's good. Jackson's good. He had his wisdom teeth, all 4 of them taken out last weekend, so I was kind of glad we had the time. He was on the struggle bus, bless his little heart.
I had 2 of my wisdom teeth pulled out and then played a basketball game the next day in high school. Scored 22.
Yeah, you did.
But I had to keep running onto the side. I'm sure it was a joy for anybody that was there, and spit mouths full of blood into the trash cans that were alongside the court. Yeah, fun was had by all.
Well, I had 9 taken out and then 2 days later produced the Ostranders. So that was fun for me.
You were spitting blood on stage?
I was not. Thank God I was okay. But yeah, I was in a gown, so it didn't feel right.
How was my week? Thanks for asking, Lindsey.
Fuck off. How was your week, Bart?
Yeah, it's been a good week. We started our atmospheric river here in Portland, so it just rains a deluge, and it's just huge, chubby rain. To a throwback to, what was the name of that movie with Eddie Murphy and Steve Martin?
Bowfinger.
Bowfinger. Chubby Rain was the name of the script that they were shooting. I want to start this thing. I want to jump into this movie. There's a special reason we chose this movie. Usually it's just random, and we give 3 movie choices to our guest, and our guest today was gracious enough to go with this movie because of a connection we have to someone in this movie, and so that's why we chose this movie. So I think it's apropos. It's somebody that we've worked with, somebody that we knew in Memphis, but I think we all probably grew up watching him on television and in movies. Really talented actor. So go ahead and let's tell the people what movie we're talking about, and then we can talk a little bit further about the reasons behind it.
Absolutely. Today we are watching Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning, 1985 release.
Why is it a new beginning?
Because we have a new Jason. Is that the right way to say it?
Because the previous film was the final chapter. And if you're going to keep trying to make movies and make money off those movies and you call one the final chapter, you got to justify some way of continuing the franchise. So they went with A New Beginning. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And a different approach in this one.
Yes.
It's kind of a throwback to the first one in a sense that maybe it's not who you think it is.
Yes, that's true.
So yeah, Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, 1985. Let's bring in our guest so we can talk about the reasons why we chose this movie. Our guest today is a director and a writer from Memphis that Lindsey and I both worked with a lot over the years. I think Lindsey, I think you guys even went to school together.
We didn't go to school together, but yeah, I've known him since I think I was like 15 or something.
So you guys have known each other for 10 years.
About 10 years ago, yeah.
Really talented cat, a really good guy. It's rare to say a really talented person and a good person, and which is also why we are doing what we're doing today. So it's apropos. So without further ado, so we can stop speaking vaguely and talk about this deeply, please welcome to Die Laughing, Christian Walker.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yay! Well, we're so happy that you're here.
I've been really excited ever since I first saw that y'all were doing this podcast, and I've listened to all of them, and I have to be on here.
I do have friends that listen to it. I saw one yesterday and she was like, I saw you did House. I got to listen to it. I just haven't had a chance yet.
Oh, I haven't heard the House one yet, so maybe I lied.
Well, it was just a few days ago. We had Jared Callen on, and
oh man, I love Jared Callen.
I think we all love Jared. It was the first time Lindsey had ever met Jared, shockingly.
But it wasn't the first time you met Jared.
Uh-oh.
I know. We were trying to figure it out. Neither of us. I said, there's no way that we have not been on a set together.
He shot Hallelujah Station.
We're both assholes.
Let's go ahead and talk about why we chose this movie. So somebody that we all worked with in some capacity or another, Corey Parker. So we lost him this last week. He passed away.
It was March 5th.
We lost him the first week of March. He had moved to Memphis 20 years ago from LA. And he was someone that I grew up watching. I remember seeing Biloxi Blues opposite Matthew Broderick.
87 or 88. I think 88 is when it came out.
Yeah. So it came out when I was in high school. And I remember my sister and I watching it, really loving it. So yeah, he moved to Memphis, and like you do in a small market, a lot of independent films, a lot of short films, became an acting coach, and really did teach a lot of actors in Memphis to hone their craft and to really understand what it was all about. Just an extensive credit list of TV shows and movies. And he had a show, I can't remember what it was called, with Taya Leone. And they either did 1 or 2 seasons, and he was the lead opposite Taya. But he was also in Friday the 13th, A New Beginning. And I remember, even just as a movie nerd, remembering him.
Mm-hmm.
When I first saw it, he kind of stood out because he was so comfortable on camera.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the characters, and we'll talk about them later, were very odd choices for 1985. A couple of greasers, and the greasers didn't really exist in 1985. Since the parameters of this show are horror comedy, and it would be the one that falls into it. So we chose Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, so we could talk about the movie and also kind of appreciate Corey's contributions, not only to this film, but other stuff as well. And we'll continue to talk about it when we get to, to Corey's scene. I think we can stop and kind of talk a little more about his career and working with him as well. So yeah, Christian, thank you for being down with doing this. And I know you've worked with him before as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I loved Corey. I took some classes from him. He was always just so supportive of me when I was really trying to be an actor, just very kind. And anytime anyone ever asked like who to get acting classes by in Memphis, I would always throw his name in because, you just look at his career and I mean, he was a much better actor than he ever got recognition for,
Mm-hmm.
He was a standout to me in Biloxi Blues.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
And in this movie too, I have thoughts about his performance.
Yeah, there were a couple of actors in this movie that their acting abilities were too good for this movie. This movie did not deserve their acting abilities.
Yes, agreed.
I don't know if right now is a good time to say this, but I was imagining an alternate reality where Corey got to be the lead for this movie and play the Tommy Jarvis role. And I guess, him and Corey Feldman looked too dissimilar, but it would have been so much of a better movie if Corey could have been the lead.
1,000%.
Kristen, what we typically do, we'll watch the trailer and the folks at home can give it a listen, and we'll come back and we'll just jump right in.
Okay.
So here is the trailer for 1985's Friday the 13th. A New Beginning.
of Jason still haunts you. You're not alone. Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning.
Severe trauma at age 12. Brutal self-defense, murder of a psychopathic killer. Boy, they've given him every therapy they can think of. It's a wonder his mind isn't fried with all the drugs they've given him.
The mindless, murderous fury that was buried with Jason has been reborn.
Pete!
And suddenly, terror has become child's play. Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning.
Here's my thing, though. The majority of the trailer is the first minute of the movie.
They kind of jump into the rest of the story, too. So, you see a little bit about what's going to kind of happen at the end, who's going to be left, all of that. But, it is what it is. It's a fine trailer.
Is it, though? Is it?
I don't know.
It does its job as a trailer. It seemed much more interesting than the movie actually was.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and just jump in and get this this movie rolling.
I had big plans that I didn't have time for because I was going to watch the other Friday the 13th installments around this movie just to sort of remember how it compares. I did years ago, me and my friend watched all of them in order. And I remember this one being a really low point for me. And I remember not liking it very much then. So I really wanted to watch all the other ones. And I also wanted to watch Savage Streets, the director's previous film, which if you haven't seen the trailer or seen the movie, the trailer, it seems much more interesting, starring Linda Blair.
I have never seen it, but I remember the VHS cover at video stores when I was young. Totally.
Yeah. I actually had a poster for the movie, and I gave it as a gift to one of the crew members on Hallelujah Station. So
Oh, wow.
it was a pretty cool poster.
Oh, what a coincidence.
The movie we all worked on.
Yes.
I almost did the same thing. Anytime it's not available for free online somewhere, instead of giving Amazon or some other entity $4, I will go to the local video store and rent it. And I rented it on Blu-ray from Movie Madness here in Portland. But I also had the option. They had Part 4 and Part 5, so that way you could see Corey Feldman and then the continuation in the next film. But I chose Blu-ray over SD. And I thought, what's it going to bring to me? To this day I make fun of Part 4 just because of Corey Feldman. Jason, I'm you. You're me. We're each other. We're the same. I'm you, Jason. You're me, Jason. We're the two who were one.
Yeah.
Right.
But then after this one, Part 6 is, to me, the high part of the whole film series. Like, they really sort of brought it back with Part 6, which I saw in the theater when I was like 8, and it really had an impact on me.
I think we talked about this last podcast where we did House, which is a lot of the Friday the 13th team. And yeah, six kind of redeemed themselves after losing their way a couple of times, but Part 2 will always be my favorite. I thought it was legitimately scary, and it's the first Friday the 13th where Jason is actually the killer.
Yes.
Right.
All right, here we go. So the movie opens almost like it's a return from a commercial break when a movie airs on a network. It's just right in the middle of it. A figure's walking in a yellow parka through the forest, carrying a flashlight on a rainy night. The score is already at high tension, and I assume this is Manfredini as well, right?
It is, which is one of the high points of the movie. Is like the score is still really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did the score for House as well, and so it's very Friday the 13th sounding.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, high tension, Manfredini score. Parka person walks upon the grave of Jason Voorhees. That young person is Tommy Jarvis from Friday the 13th, the final chapter, played by Corey Feldman. He stares down at Jason's freshly packed grave. It's so freshly packed and so neat, and the headstone is so wooden and says Jason Voorhees and some makeshift paint that it almost seems like it's going to be a dream sequence. But before Feldman has a chance to masturbate or whatever he's going to do on the grave, TBD.
Would have been a better movie.
Yep. He gets interrupted by two voices. He runs off and hides in the bush, and it's two guys, and they have decided to dig up Jason's grave, and they do in about 20 seconds. Because once they dig up the grave and pull the coffin lid back, they've buried Jason at ground level.
Yes.
Yeah.
The grave is only deep enough to fit the coffin, so his face is right at ground level.
Yeah, but some great worms. They went to the bait shop, got some night crawlers, big worms on his eyes.
There's Jason lying in the grave. And someone has been considerate enough to bury him with his hockey mask on. That's very sweet.
That's so nice.
I would like to think that 2-foot dug grave, 2 foot high and rising, is just because, it's just a dream sequence, but it's probably because we don't want to dig a whole 6-foot grave. So let's just dig a shallow one.
And Corey was like, I don't have that kind of time. I've got to get back to the Goonies set. So if we could just get this going.
Yeah, so they filmed his scenes. They went to his backyard, and so that's where they shot him.
Crazy.
Right on. Even back then, Corey's like, look, I'll only do this if you come to me.
What a career, right?
Of course. I guess he was not the full Corey yet, but I mean, he's still the biggest star in that movie.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember how it is said in the credits, but it's something similar to an appearance by Corey Feldman. But yeah, so there's Jason laying in the hole, the very shallow hole. The two guys look down at Jason, and then immediately a machete comes up and stabs one guy in the stomach and then stabs the other guy in the neck. And they fall aside, and then Jason rises from the grave, probably to me the coolest shot in the movie. And also, that could not have been done with a 6-foot grave for him to raise up at the waist like a vampire coming out of the crypt. And he raises up, spots Tommy Jarvis, Corey Feldman in the trees, gets out of the grave, starts walking towards him. Tommy Jarvis is totally frozen with fear. Now that I know it was shot in Corey Feldman's backyard, Corey, you could try a little harder than your little weird freak out panic.
Yeah, it was so long and drawn out. My only note for that scene is just run, Corey Feldman, run.
Run, yeah.
He comes to young Tommy Jarvis, raises his machete, swings it down, and then as soon as he swings it down, we cut to adult Tommy Jarvis waking up from this dream in the backseat of a moving van with a sign on the side that reads, Unger Institute of Mental Health. And then we go to the title sequence. And then the van arrives at Pinehurst Youth Development Center. They drive past livestock stables and some orchards and a few onlookers. And Tommy is greeted by Pam Roberts, the assistant director of the joint. Tommy appears to be a mute, either that or just plain rude, never answering Pam's questions. Pam takes Tommy to meet Dr. Matthew Letter, and he finally gets Tommy to speak, so he's not a mute. He just doesn't respect women, apparently. Matthew and Pam tell Tommy that there are no guards at Pinehurst and that it's based on the honor system.
I recognized Matthew from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the beginning when it's young Indiana Jones played by, is it River Phoenix who played him?
Yep.
Young Indiana Jones?
And
he meets the guy who he gets the fedora from. And
right.
And that was... whatever his name was.
Richard Young.
He's got a nice scar on his face.
He's got a great scar.
Yeah.
Matthew asks Pam, so Dr. Matt, we're going to call him Dr. Matt because they never call him, and she says, let me introduce you to the doctor, and after that, he's never referred to as a doctor again, just Matt.
Right.
So Matt says to Pam, hey, point Tommy towards his room to get him started. She legit stands up, points out the door, and gives him directions to his bedroom. Go through the kitchen, go upstairs, his bedroom on the left. You know, he could have done that.
It's so weird.
But the whole reason they do it, so he leaves so they can have a moment of exposition as he steps out of the room. So he leaves, and Matthew tells Pam that he has his file, and he's diagnosed as having a trauma at age 12 from the brutal self-defense murder of a psychopathic killer. It doesn't sound very clinical in that description, but It's Friday the 13th in the beginning.
Yeah.
In Tommy's room, he's staring at a picture of his sister Trish from the final chapter. He then pulls out a big old fat pocket knife from his bag.
Yeah, a big ass knife.
Big pocket knife.
They're just like, oh, we're on the honor system here. And then Tommy gives super Jeffrey Dahmer vibes
Super.
in this.
Yeah.
And then he has a giant knife and weird, creepy masks that he has made.
So the honor system apparently means weapons, drugs, because later they're smoking joints. It is a failing honor system is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It felt more like a cult than like a legitimate hospital, with Matt as sort of this ringmaster and a really weird setting. I don't know. It was odd. Very odd.
And do we ever see any kind of like therapy happening at all?
No, not one time. Unless laundry and chopping wood is considered therapy.
I mean, when I looked at the budget for this movie, I was like, this feels like a scam. This feels like a money laundering scam. Like, I mean, the budget's supposed to be $2.2 million.
Right.
And that's in 40 years ago money. I mean, give me $2 million now. It feels like $100,000 movie.
I'll tell you where it really feels cheap, and we'll talk about it later. Every time someone's in an automobile, especially there's two different sequences with the truck. They just like the truck like driving, and then all of a sudden the truck drives out of frame, comes back into the frame. The shot's almost identical. Then the truck comes back into frame, almost identical. It's like, wow, that was it. That's the best you could do. Yeah, that stuff really felt like a low budget film to me.
Mm-hmm.
So he hides the blade under his mattress. Again, honor system. He opens up his closet and he's spooked by a fake spider that's hanging there on a string, and out steps the young, streetwise Reggie the Reckless.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Dudley from a very special episode of Different Strokes.
Yes.
Amen. Very special episode.
Very
If
special.
you remember that episode.
I believe all of us of a certain age will always remember Dudley's very special episode.
Boy, oh boy, do we.
Poor Dudley. I was traumatized by that episode. I had no idea. I mean, God, because what did that come out in, like 84, 83 or something?
Yeah, it was right before this, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm like 6 or 7, and I had no idea that there were people like Mr. What's his name with the bicycle shop and the ice cream and all that, and the alcohol and all that stuff.
Reggie's played by Shavar Ross, who was Gary Coleman's best friend. He was in a lot of episodes of Different Strokes as Arnold's best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he does a good job in this.
He's always solid in everything he's in.
Yeah, he was in Family Matters too.
Yep. They really wanted him to be streetwise because he was wise beyond his years.
Killing it in that red outfit.
Oh, yeah. So Reggie is laughing at Tommy for being scared of a rubber spider. Reggie is just kind of chiding him, and Tommy turns around and then immediately turns back around, and he's wearing this alien mask. Scares Reggie. And he starts pulling masks out of his duffel bag, and we discover that he's packed nothing but masks. There are no clothes in there. There's nothing in that duffel bag but masks. That's all he's brought.
Hey, he had the knife too, Bart.
He showed up to the funny farm with nothing but rubber masks.
He literally had nothing else in his bag.
Good thing they have tons of laundry because there's just extra to go around.
But no dryer.
But all the laundry's dry that they're hanging.
That's true. Come on, we don't know. It may be damp to the touch.
Right. Oh, God, I'm so dead.
So Tommy tells Reggie that he made these masks, and Reggie tells Tommy that he's not one of the nuts. He's just visiting, and then his granddaddy works there. So the sheriff and his deputy arrive at Pinehurst. They found a couple of the residents in the woods screwing their heads off, as he says.
I wrote that quote down in my notes. They were screwing their heads off, Mac.
Screwing with the wrong parts of their body. So much for the honor system once again. Right away, we're introduced to the comedic element, and I could not be air quoting any fucking harder than I am right now, of this movie as Ethel Hubbard and her son arrive on his motorcycle.
I just want to play Ethel, okay? Somebody just needs to give me some sort of opportunity.
No, you don't want that.
My God.
Because you will be remembered just like she is for this and just this. Like, let's say a beautiful man or woman of your choosing walks in. They're beautiful, and then they turn, and they've got this giant bleeding scab on them. Now, it's a terrible description because that would imply that this movie is a beautiful thing. But she is still the bleeding scab of this movie, and it drives me fucking insane.
Yeah, the most insufferable part of this movie.
1,000%.
Knowing that we were watching this for a horror comedy podcast made me go, well, is this a horror comedy? And I mean, I guess you could say it is because there are times where it tries to be funny, but I think it sort of fails at being funny and being scary.
So what kind of made me decide to go ahead and pull the trigger on this episode as a tribute to Corey was I went on Reddit, and people were like, somebody asked on Reddit, like, hey, what's the funniest Friday the 13th? And a lot of people were chiming in with this one, and it's not. But I thought, well, enough people think it is. They consider it a horror comedy that we're going to go with it. Again, it's our fucking podcast. We don't need justification. If we want to do it, we'll do it. But
We're here for Corey.
We're here for Corey. But yeah, if this is your comedy, it is a piss poor excuse for comedy. Hated both of them. Hated both their performances.
And let's mention the fact that her and Junior are look like the same age.
Well, they put fake gray in her hair. You didn't buy it?
No, there's so much laziness in this that it just feels like they just could have so easily made a better movie.
Right. Yeah.
So she goes to the sheriff, and in front of all of the residents and the doctors and the counselors at Pinehurst, they're all standing outside, and she gets off Junior's bike and goes to the sheriff, and in the most 80s sitcom way possible, says if any more of these kids show up on her property, she's going to shoot them, and then hops on her son's Junior's bike, and they speed away, and she flips them off. Just, you want to talk about setting a tone for a character and knowing, oh, okay, I'm gonna hate every time you fuckers are on screen. Every time, if that's how you're going to play it.
Yeah.
So the very next scene, we meet Vic Faden, played by Mark Venturini, who's outside chopping wood. Venturini is best known for playing Suicide in Return of the Living Dead, which came out the same year.
Wow.
You had to think that he thought his career was really going to take off to be in two big movies that same year. But unfortunately, he got leukemia and died at the age of 35.
Awful.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Awful. He was actually considered for the role of Tommy. Why did they cast? I mean, I don't want to say anything, but why didn't they choose him?
That had to be a bummer for him then if he auditioned for Tommy and then he got Vic, who's in and out in a 3-minute span.
Yeah.
I would assume that Return has not come out yet. And so the producers of this film had not yet seen one of the greatest films of all time, in my opinion, Return of the Living Dead.
You're not alone in that view.
It's my favorite horror comedy, my favorite zombie movie. And it really, like the whole punk rock thing. I mean, that's, why I became a lifelong punk rocker, was seeing that when I was 8.
Well, you're not going to get any arguments out of this crew.
We are diehard Return of the Living Dead gospel preachers. And I remember when I saw him in Return of the Living Dead, just thinking, who the fuck is this badass?
Yeah.
Because I'd never seen him before, and he was just so tough, but at the same time just bitching that they won't kick in for gas. I don't want to try to derail this show by going off on the other one, but it's a shame. I guess what I'm trying to say, it's a shame that we didn't get more Suicide performances out of him in his short time here.
Yeah,
because he was excellent.
Agreed. And we've got another Return of the Living Dead person coming up. We'll get there.
Yeah. We'll get there, but it was very sad at the moment when we lose both of them, and then our connection to Return of the Living Dead is over for this film, because I was trying to hang on to any thread I could. So yeah, Vic's out chopping wood, and we also meet Sweet and Simple Joey, whose mouth is covered in chocolate, pudgy Joey with a mouth covered in chocolate, eating his chocolate bars, and he approaches Violet and Robin, who are hanging dry laundry on the line. And he just wants to help, and they want him to go away, and instead he picks up some of the sheets, and he's got chocolate all over his hands, and he gets chocolate all over the fresh linen. They shoo him away, and so he decides to go bother Vic, who's still chopping wood.
Violently.
Really focused on that wood. Yeah, totally.
Very.
And can I just say that Joey is another just like insufferable caricature.
I remember, this is 40 years old. I remember just thinking, like, as soon as Joey was on screen, like, oh God, I don't know how long I can handle this character. Thankfully, we didn't have to handle it for long.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
So Joey wants to help Vic with the wood, says he's never chopped wood before. He said, but it looks like fun. You can tell Vic is starting to lose his temper as he continues to try to chop the wood, keeps telling him to go away. This guy's a real hothead. He tells Joey to leave him alone. Joey puts a chocolate bar on the log that Vic is chopping. He says, you can save this for later. Vic just whacks it with the axe, which pisses Joey off. And Joey tells him that was really out of line and turns to leave in a huff. And Vic just picks up the axe and whacks Joey right in the back. So thankfully, we don't have to deal with Joey anymore.
Yeah, so much for the honor system at their little mental health camp.
Yep. So far, we got
Right.
a knife, we've got an axe, we've got two fucking in somebody else's yard. Yeah, at some point, you're going to have to put a few restraints on the honor system.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The cops and ambulance arrive. We meet the two cops. We meet the two ambulance attendants, Duke and Roy. Duke is a real piece of work. Just seems to be enjoying that there's a dead body here. And
He's one of my favorite performances from the movie. His little, like, where he's like pussies, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I enjoyed how much he relished the moment.
smacking the gum the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He pulls the sheet back from Joey's head and looks up at Roy, who looks sort of out of sorts at everything that's going on. It says, come on, Roy, get your hands dirty. And Roy's very distraught when he sees Joey's body. None of this will come in later.
No.
No.
Cut to nighttime. These two greasers are broken down on the side of the road. I was not aware greasers were still a thing in 1985, but apparently they are. Maybe they were just auditioned for Grease somewhere and they hadn't gotten out of costume yet.
You know, I will say that, you know, the whole Stray Cats thing had happened. So there was a little bit of like rockabilly.
That's true.
Subculture going on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
you're
is
right.
true. They went straight for the leather jacket, the greased hair. But the greasers are Vinny and Pete, played by Anthony Borelli and Corey Parker. And Corey Parker is the reason we chose this movie. Corey is an actor that we lost last week. Many memorable TV and film roles. And Christian, what you said you'd worked with him on something. I know you'd said earlier that you took acting classes from him.
I feel the same as like Lindsey. I'm like I had to have worked with him on something because I was around him a substantial amount, but my memory is just failing me these days. But I do know that, yeah, I did take some classes from him, and such a good actor. Like, and in this movie, you know, not to jump ahead, but like, well, first of all, he goes off to take a shit, right, in the woods
Right.
with like no toilet paper or anything. And he walks really far off to take a shit, you know. But then when he comes back, he's doing this sort of like sing-song thing.
Rat-a-tat-tooey.
Mhm.
Exactly. Which I was like, oh, this is the only actor in this, so far, the only time we've seen an actor make a choice. Like, I don't think that was in the script. I think
No, I don't think so either.
that was Corey making a choice, and it's one of the only choices made by an actor in this whole movie, which is why I said earlier, like, there's an alternate reality where Corey could have been the lead to this movie, and it would have been so much better.
Yeah.
I can see that. I worked with Corey on Morgan John Fox's Silver Elves, this short film that he did, and I got to set. And I was excited. I knew Corey was going to be on it. And like I said, I was in high school when Biloxi Blues came out, and so I was excited to get to work with him. He was playing the father of a missing child, and I was the lead investigator. And so when I got to set, I remember Morgan saying, "Hey, I just want you to know that Corey's method. And so just give him space." And I was like, yeah, sure. So it was the first time I'd ever worked with anyone who worked method. So I remember going into our holding area, and he was sitting on a couch. You know, there were no other seats available. So I sat on the couch, and I sat at the other end of the couch because he was sitting there with his eyes closed, you know, and I thought, oh, okay, this is what today is going to be like. You know, he's going to be in this character for the rest of the day. And it went on for like 5 minutes. And then I remember he opened his eyes and then turned, looked, and said, "Hey, Bart." And I was like, oh, okay, good. This is not going to be a total method thing. He just needed to get to this place before we went out there. And he had to do this emotional scene, which he did, and he killed it. It was great. I always thought that was a blast as a movie fan to get to work with someone that you'd watched in movies when you were younger. That was an honor. And anytime I ran into him elsewhere, he always made sure to say my name, and say, hey, Bart, how's it going? And I was respected. And I try to do the same with people as well, because I want people to know, I know who you are. And I think that stuff is so important as we wind out the clock. And then he also just assisted on this project that we were doing, this teaser for a project that never fully developed and never came to fruition. But he came pro bono and coached this inexperienced actor that we had and was there while we were trying to shoot this scene with him. And he on set was his coach as we were shooting it. And just so easy to work with, but so talented. I never saw an ego in any of that. I just saw pure talent and a kind person.
Yeah. So I'm the same, Christian. We had to work together at some point, but the fact that it didn't matter how big the role was, it didn't matter kind of how much he was featured, he wanted to continue to act. And he did so in very well-known shows after moving to Memphis, like Nashville and Sun Records. And, he was in Touched by an Angel and Miss Marvel. So he continued his career in the spotlight for sure. So he was just happy to continue to do the work and did so until his health wouldn't allow it. I mean, I think that's incredible that he was that kind of person. And again, always kind. I'm always so excited to see his name in a film because it's going to be good. Getting the opportunity to see him in person at these premieres. And he was just, like you say, Bart, just so kind and would always come up and say hello. And it just was always a pleasure seeing him on the screen, and so nice knowing that he was a part of our community here.
I remember spending enough time with him to where he told me stories about sort of growing up in Hollywood. And I want to say that his best friend was Patrick Dempsey from Grey's Anatomy, and they sort of came up together. And I think Corey got really disenfranchised with Hollywood for some reason or another. But he was very open with me and told me all kinds of stories, and it was really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Our thoughts go out to his wife and kids because tragedy, very sad. And
so young.
Yeah.
He was very open about his diagnosis, and when he learned about his diagnosis, he said, life is certainly full of mystery. And he always encouraged his fellow actors to keep continuing into the unknown, committed to your creative journey, no matter what.
Him being method, do you think he really took a shit on the set of Friday the 13th, Part 5?
Who knows? Who can we call to ask?
I would like to think so. For moving forward, I'm going to assume he did. And well played, Corey.
Oh my God. Can you imagine if he's like, can we just wait a couple more hours to film this one scene? I just need a little bit of time here.
Where's Corey? He was supposed to just walk into the woods and come right back. No, he's doing it. It's happening.
You were you really shitting in the street, huh?
Well, like you said, Christian, the acting really elevated in this scene when he shows up. And I noticed that too. The writing, unfortunately, the writing for this scene is terrible. Their car breaks down and the dialogue is so vague about the car. And so Corey's character, Pete, is just fix this car. You know how to fix it. And Vinny's well, you've been messing around with it so much, I don't know. And he's just assuming that he knows how to fix it, but he keeps going, you better fix this car. You better fix this car. It sounds like dialogue written by someone who doesn't know anything about cars. I don't really want to invest time into saying it's the carburetor. We're just going to talk incredible vagaries and then have this animosity toward each other. But like Christian said, Pete says, you better have this car fixed by the time I get back. I'm going to go take a shit, and goes off into the woods. And so Vinny's, complaining about him as he's working on the car. And then a few minutes later, somebody steps in, lights a road flare, and those road flares are fucking bright, so if someone's holding it, you can't see the details of the person. He assumes it's Pete. Vinny does, and starts bitching about it. He's like, what are you doing with the flare? And then the person with the flare shoves the flare into Vinny's mouth, and it lights up his whole face. One of the few interesting kills, I think, in this movie.
My favorite death from the movie.
Lights his head up like a jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah.
So he's dead, slumped over the car. And then Pete does return from taking a shit. And just like you were saying, Christian, he comes back and he is acting. It's not like so many of the characters in the movie just going from your mark to your end point. He's got this songs like Rat-Tat-Tooey, you better fix that fucking car, rat-tat-tooey. I'm going to kick your fucking ass, rat-tat-tooey. And he gets into the car and he cranks it up.
All of that was ad-libbed.
Yeah,
Oh.
totally. But I love how the character Pete doesn't even check to see if Vinny is clear before he cranks up. Like, so he doesn't give a damn if he's going to chop his fingers off or not. Just trying to crank that car up. You better fix that fucking car. I'm getting mad. And finally the car does turn over. He says, let's go. And then from the back seat, a machete comes out and rakes across his throat. And then our greaser characters are no more. We are degreased.
Gone too soon.
It's a very cool kill. I like his too. So far, the finest actors are being killed off.
Right. I also want to point out that Corey's wearing Chuck Taylors, but it's got like the shoelaces are sort of tied out like around the ankle. Remember how, people used to do that in the 80s? Anyways, I just want to point that out. And in the credits at the end of the movie, it's like it mentions Converse.
Oh, does it really?
So I guess that was a little product placement.
Yeah, that's some of your 2 million right there.
Mm-hmm.
Back at Pinehurst, everyone's down for breakfast, and Reggie asks his grandfather, played by Vernon Washington, and I will always remember Vernon Washington as Otis from The Last Starfighter, and the iconic line, "You gonna bust the record?"
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent movie, man. I'll tell you what a travesty it is that The Last Starfighter is not widely appreciated as this fucking amazing movie that it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it really is sort of like a lost classic. No one talks about it much.
They really don't. So yeah, Reggie asks his grandfather, who's making breakfast, if he can go see his brother tomorrow. And they just say it real quick, and you're not 100% sure. It's like, did they call him Demon? You don't know yet, but it's like, did they just say the word Demon?
That?
Your brother's named Demon? And he says, we'll see. And then some terrible acting by Vernon Washington. He's like, come here. Oh, come here. And he starts hugging him and kissing him. Like, oh, Reggie. Reggie is incorrigible. I love Reggie. Wanted to go see his brother, Reggie.
God, it's really bad.
It's awful.
Mm-hmm.
At breakfast, we meet stuttering, neurotic Jake, who gets agitated because he realizes that Violet has set places for both the deceased Joey and the murderer Vic, and gets upset. Tommy comes down. Everyone's at the breakfast table, and Tommy steps into the doorway looking mute and weird, as Tom would do. Matt asks Tommy if he'll go get Eddie for breakfast, and he turns to go out the door, but there's a jump scare of Eddie at the door wearing one of Tommy's masks. And Eddie starts kind of chiding him and like, come on, can't you take a joke? And starts punching him in the chest, punching him. And this is like one of the 3 scenes from the movie, even though it's been probably 40 years, that I remembered. Because he keeps just punching him and punching him and punching him and punching him. And then finally Tommy snaps, picks up Eddie, body slams him onto this small table, and then begins punching the shit out of him before the doctor finally pulls him away.
I will say the throw through the table was actually very impressive.
It was.
Some of the fight choreography in this movie, and there's more that comes up later, is surprisingly good.
It is.
Compared to everything else in the movie.
Yeah, it is. There's a second there where you're like, wait, is this another type of movie? I'm so confused.
Especially the fight scene later. It's almost like, did this just become Silent Rage?
Yeah.
They did have a very good fight choreographer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no kidding. And the stuntman was very good too. You could tell a lot of martial arts training.
For sure.
Well, and also later on in that scene, you can really tell when they switch Tommy out with the stuntman. It's like very...
They may as well just kept rolling and had them one walk off and the other walk on. I was like, I did read, and I wonder if this is true. Without counting the laughing or the yelling, I read that the Tommy Jarvis character says only 24 words throughout the entire film.
Holy shit.
Do we think that's true? Obviously, it's not a lot, but I mean, 24? Is that enough to get his SAG card?
I mean, I'm shocked it's even 24. I hardly remember him through the whole movie saying anything.
Anytime he speaks, it's just a single sentence.
A word or two.
Yeah.
Can I bring up in that last scene, the breakfast scene has my favorite quote of the whole movie, which is from Matthew, the doctor. He says, "Look, I know how all you feel. This thing isn't easy for any of us. So let's just have breakfast."
Yes, yeah. You think he's going to go into this like speech and he's like,
I know how you feel. We're all suffering a lot of trauma here. It was really hard to see one of your friends be murdered. And I know you're having a lot of conflicting emotions about who did it. And if anybody needs to talk about it, this is an open space to speak. So, and it essentially just said, okay, can we all agree this is fucked up? Let's just shut the fuck up and eat.
Yes.
And I assume he's a doctor of psychology. So apparently Dr. Matt's hungry and that's all he gives a shit about.
Yeah. A lot of therapy going on.
Yes, it's so good.
Then we cut away totally unnecessarily to Ethel Hubbard's home. We're back to our return to our comedy element.
Woof.
Again, with the hard air quotes. She and her idiot son are, God, they're just so goddamn over the top.
They're so awful.
The son's sitting at the table slurping stew, and of course it's all pouring out of his mouth because, they're inbred and you got to just slop all the soup out of his mouth and make it all gross. Like a fucking cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
And Ethel, it's broad daylight, and Ethel hears a coyote in the chicken coop. So she grabs the shotgun and heads out to shoot the coyote in the chicken coop. But she's met at the front door by a drifter looking for food in exchange for work. And she tells him to clean the chicken shit out of the coop and then she'll fill his belly. I hate every fucking line these people say.
Yeah. And then she talks about how ugly he is.
Yeah.
What an ugly man.
And I thought, is he that?
He's kind of rugged. He's kind of hot, really. So I guess just introducing that guy as one more like, oh, could this guy be the killer?
That's the thing. This is not our first film that we've covered where the filmmaker believes that the audience knows that this is a whodunit. And so when this character shows up, it's like, who the fuck is that? And then later, it's like, or very soon goes away. It's like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
So it's never a whodunit until we see who it is.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And this is a problem with this film. There are so many people and their names are said like sometimes once or twice. So I don't really know who any of these people are. Not that I necessarily need to care when they die, but like later on when they're, talking about this past character that we're supposed to know who they are, I'm like, I don't remember who that is. Who's that?
I had to do my homework just to pull some of these names out. Like Tina. Tina's name is said once.
Part of the problem to me with the ending of this film, I mean, just zero introduction to these people. So you don't care about them. And then when they're recalled later, you're like, I don't remember who that is. I don't remember these people's names. I mean, there's no connection at all to me, to these characters.
Which is kind of why it was better watching this movie the second time, because then I kind of was able to like clue in on like some of the foreshadowing and things like that. And
that exists?
yeah. And we'll talk about it at the big reveal.
The huge reveal.
So after Ethel Hubbard meets the drifter, we cut to the greaser crime scene where the deputy says, looks like we got ourselves a maniac on the loose. Paramedic Roy has two weird scenes. One, he's like, did you say something to me, Sheriff? And Sheriff's like, what? And he's, were you talking to me? He's like, no. He's like, oh, okay. Then the second one, he's like, he closes the door and kind of looks towards camera. Like, what the fuck is up with Roy?
Mm-hmm.
Why is Roy getting all these featured scenes? It probably doesn't play into anything later.
No. Coincidence.
The DP fancied Roy.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's nighttime. Cut to Billy, the Unger mental health expendable character from the beginning, who I didn't even bring up because he was just one of the guys that brought Tommy to Pinehurst.
Great mustache.
Great mustache. Billy, who does not deserve our attention, arrives at the diner to pick up his girlfriend Lana to go party. Another character who does not deserve our attention.
No.
These two can't die fast enough.
Oh my God.
So she's inside getting ready in the mirror and yanks her own shirt open just to show her tits.
My note says obligatory random boobs.
Yeah. Just yanks her own shirt open to look at her own tits in the mirror. I get it. It's a Friday the 13th. You got to have tits. It's the law. But you can try to be a little more creative than just a woman yanking open her own blouse in the mirror just to look at her own tits. She is putting on makeup, doing all this shit, talking about how hot she is in the mirror. They're stretching it out way too long while Billy's out in the car and he pulls out a bag of Coke. And so he's put a little line on a tiny little mirror and he snorts some Coke. And his whole thing is just drumming on the steering wheel, all amped on Coke while she's inside. And so she's getting ready to leave on the inside and she hears something break. And then turns and is startled by a cat in the diner. There's a cat in the diner. There's a horse in the hospital.
Which the jump scare with the cat, the cut where you see the cat, you can tell they just threw the cat into frame.
Exactly. It was a launched cat.
Yes.
So impatient Billy starts yelling for Lana to hurry up, and he's honking. And mercifully, we are spared from no more Billy because he's whacked in the top of his bald spot with an axe.
Thank God.
Thank God. So Billy's dead. Back inside, Lana throws the cat out of the diner and runs out to Billy's abandoned car. Doors open, thinks nothing of it, gets inside and sits there. It's like, come on, Billy, what are you doing? I'm cold. I'm like, Billy's gone. The door's open. You have just no red flags you see there. So she sees his coat that is on his floorboard, and she says something about more for me, leans down to grab the Coke. And while she leans down, she sees the feet of the man holding an axe outside the door.
Yeah.
So she gets out of her side of the door and runs, but is whacked in the stomach with an axe. They might as well why did she even get out of the car? Just whack her, your expendable character. Just cut her head in two right there in the car and be done with it, and we'll move along.
Yeah.
Hideous characters. My second least favorite characters next to Ethel Hubbard and her dipshit son, Junior.
Yeah. All of this was just thoroughly unnecessary.
It was only to bring the body count up. I guarantee you they'd already factored in, okay, we need these 3 surviving members at the end of the movie, but we can't kill 2 of them. Otherwise, the dynamics are wrong. And so we need just 2 more characters to kill. And so that was the 2 we got.
I think I read there's 22 murder sequences, helping this film earn its reputation as one of the most excessive in the franchise.
Oh.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just literally to get the body count up. Yeah.
You know, just trying to remember other Friday the 13th movies, I just feel like the kills they're not very graphic.
They're bland.
Yeah, they're just lazy, and I don't know. I mean, I think I read something about how they had problems with like the ratings of this movie or something.
Oh,
but
yeah.
it feels very PG besides the couple of boob shots. And
several kills that don't happen on screen. We just find out about them later. So
Right.
that could have ended up on the editing floor as well, because they were like, nope, can't do that.
So it's funny that you say that, Christian, because 1 month prior to the film's release, the MPAA demanded that 16 scenes featuring sex or graphic violence be edited in order to even merit an R rating instead of an X rating.
Wow.
And so it made like 9 trips through that process before it was finally granted an R rating. And in fact, the producer, Frank Mancuso Jr., did not get along with Danny Steinman and called Steinman a pervert and called the film a softcore porn sex movie rather than a slasher horror film.
I mean, but compared to the other movies in the series, I feel like there's less sex and there's less graphic. So I don't know what was going on. They must have had whoever was reviewing this movie for the ratings. They must have got somebody really terrible.
You know what it needed? Violence and softcore porn. That's what it fucking needed.
Yeah.
Correct.
Exactly.
Back at Pinehurst, Tommy again is imagining seeing Jason, this time outside of his window. He sees him down in the courtyard holding a bloody axe. Cut to sheriff's office. The mayor has shown up and is yelling at the sheriff about the murders. Totally unnecessary character. The sheriff tells the mayor that he thinks the killer is Jason Voorhees. So back at Pinehurst, horny Pinehurst residents Eddie and Tina go out into the woods to fuck.
Mm-hmm.
The drifter from before is watching them through the bushes as they're fucking, and then turns to leave and is immediately stabbed in the gut by a machete. So 1 red herring down. And did any of us ever consider him as a possible murderer?
Weird. I thought maybe it was him.
Yeah.
There was a brief moment, Lindsey, where I thought, oh, bless your heart.
Can I just say about this scene, the actress, her name is Debbie Voorhees, actually. And like, this woman is so beautiful. Like,
Gorgeous.
I mean, she's like stunning. And why was she not a bigger star? I don't know.
She's stunning. Yeah, she's beautiful.
Beautiful face, beautiful body.
Yeah.
I was going to look her up because I thought, obviously, she's been in other roles. I did find she was in a couple of things.
She didn't do a lot, but she's a director now.
Oh, right on.
So good for her.
Yeah, good for her.
Crazy, too. So during like an interview not too long ago for this film, she talked about how her nudity in this film got her fired as a teacher at 2 different schools, like
Wow.
years later. So one of the schools, the boys found like pictures of her. She wasn't allowed to stay until graduation. It was like just like 3 weeks or so before graduation. She like wasn't allowed to stay or sit with her students or be a part of it. It like completely devastated her. And she was like, look, this is just work that I did. It's a film that I did. I should be allowed to continue my job. And isn't that crazy? Poor lady.
Can you imagine being 15 years old and you discover that your school teacher was in this movie and that she looks like this naked?
And that she's that hot.
Oh my God, at 15, I would have lost my fucking mind. Good luck learning anything after that. I know it's terrible that it happened and it's sad and it shouldn't have happened, but good fucking luck teaching me anything other than what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
If you look like that after I've seen you in this movie.
Man, she's really beautiful.
Yeah, she was gorgeous. I mean, I'm sure she could have easily been the Linnea Quigley where they just need a beautiful set of breasts to be in a bunch of movies. And, you know, at some point she probably just said no.
Yeah, but even like her scream right before she gets killed is like really good. Like, I wish she had gotten more to do. Wish we could have seen more of her.
I found her captivating and always engaging on screen, always, which cannot be said for a lot of the other characters.
Yep.
No.
So yeah, they have fucked. Eddie and Tina finish fucking. Eddie says he's going to go wash up and runs into the woods. Tina lays naked on the sheet that they've laid out in the woods to have sex on. And she's got the post-coitus glow, and then she closes her eyes, then looks up and sees a pair of garden shears coming down.
Oh,
And
woof.
we cut there. I assumed she had been beheaded, but Eddie returns from washing his junk in the pond and comes over to her body, and she's laying on her side. Gorgeous woman. Absolutely gorgeous.
Oh,
Just-
God, she's gorgeous.
he thinks she's sleeping, rolls her over to see that her eyes have been gouged out by the shears, which I can see that being something that got cut was those shears going into a dummy's head. Eddie stumbles back against a tree. A leather strap gets thrown around his head at his eyes, and we see a man's hands holding a piece of wood wrapped in the strap and starts tightening and twisting it. And the Eddie screams. Again, probably something, we probably had a head that crushed or exploded or something. But we only see it from the viewpoint of the hands twisting, and then the strap snaps. And then that's it.
By Tina. By Debbie Voorhees.
By Tina, by Eddie.
I've never met a Voorhees in real life.
Yeah, she used to tell people when she would get recognized that Jason Voorhees was her husband and that it's a real bitch getting bloodstains out of his laundry. Kind of like that.
Back at Pinehurst, Pam is going to take Reggie to see his brother, Demon.
Yes.
They couldn't do this during the day. She invites Tommy along for the ride. Great idea. Let's get the violent mute to come along for the ride.
I can't, y'all.
So off the three of them go to meet up with Reggie's brother, Demon.
Who lives in a van down by the river.
Yes.
So they arrive at a trailer park. Tommy Jarvis says he's going to hang back at the truck, and Reggie knocks on this boogie van door calling for Demon. Demon opens the door, and he's played by Miguel A. Núñez Jr., Spider from Return of the Goddamn Living Dead.
Yes.
Yes. Finally, some good acting.
Finally. Still
Yes.
wearing leathers, full black leather.
Oh, yeah.
These two looked like they just walked off of the Thriller set from the video. Man, they sure do. And she just won't stop smoking weed.
Demon, happy to see his little brother, immediately says, have you had any dinner? Here, have some enchiladas. And hands him some enchiladas. In 5 seconds, have you had any dinner? Here, have some enchiladas. Always the provider.
Yes.
Reggie asks him where he got all those rings on his hand. And Demon says, when you travel the world as long as your big brother, you get things. Reggie turns to look to the left and says, freaking A, where'd you get that? And we see Demon's girlfriend, Nita, who's laying back all sexy in the van, smoking a joint, not really concerned about hiding the joint. Demon's girlfriend is Jerry Fields, the older sister of Kim Fields, who played Tootie on Facts of Life.
I looked her up and I didn't get that part because I was like, she looks so familiar.
I had to wormhole that one. Didn't do a lot of stuff, but she guested on Facts of Life, guested on Different Strokes. So
Gotcha.
she did the child acting thing as well. such a beautiful woman. So sexy.
Yeah.
Holy
Yes.
shit. Another one of those, like 3 or 4 things I remember this movie was like, God damn, she is gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
So Demon says, this is my girlfriend, Nita. And then Reggie says, Pam, come here. And he says, this is my girlfriend, Pam. That Reggie.
And she just goes, hey. And I was like, I would have been like, what the fuck, dude? Shut up. What are you talking about? No. I meant like, she's just like, okay. She just kind of goes along with it. And I'm like, I do not understand.
She's like, okay, is that weed?
Yeah, Demon just keeps trying to offer people like room temperature sex van food.
Yeah.
How about some tacos?
Right.
How about a pizza?
Man, God bless Melanie Kinnaman, good old Pam. There are some scenes that she has that I'm like,
Oof.
this is possibly some of the worst acting I maybe have ever seen in a film. Like, it is-
Yes.
She gets top 3. There's a line that comes later that it's top 3 worst of the whole movie.
But she's also a lovely woman.
beautiful.
She is a lovely woman. In fact, when she first steps into this, her first scene, my first thought was, wow, she looks like Cheryl Ladd.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then I looked on her IMDb. I didn't look it up further than the credit, but she played Cheryl Ladd on an episode of Saturday Night Live. I guess it was probably one of their, the pre-tape segments in 1978. So she apparently looked a lot like Cheryl Ladd back then.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the beginning when they introduce Pam and they introduce Matthew, the doctor,
Dr. Matt.
they're both very attractive. They could have made it a little bit more
Sexy.
sexy between those two.
They look like they just walked right off of the set of Dallas.
Yes. Which they probably did.
At least Falcon Crest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably one of the scenes that the censors deleted was Pam pegging Matt.
Oh, if I had made this movie, that would have been in there.
Yeah, for sure.
So he says, this is my girlfriend. Outside the van, Tommy Jarvis wanders away from the truck towards a neon trailer park sign. He starts looking up at the sign and starts to get those shaky flashback vibes before Junior shows up on his motorcycle, stops right in front of him. He gets off and he's laughing like, I scared you to death. And then he sees the truck and he says, you're a crazy from the loony bin. Says his mom's going to chop him up in a lot of itty bitty pieces, starts poking at him, same way that Eddie did, kind of punching him in the chest. But he sees he's not getting a rise out of Tommy, so he takes a swing, but Tommy then beats the shit out of him. Or I guess I should say a stuntman in a terrible wig beats the shit out of him.
They weren't even trying to hide it. Just get in there. You look fine.
You look great. You're up.
They're like, it's nighttime. Nobody's going to be able to see your wig. Look, you move so fast. You just keep moving really fast. You know Kung Fu.
Is it a Tina Turner wig? What is it?
It was Tina Turner's wig from Thunderdome, which also came out the same year.
It was.
Master Blaster runs body down. So beats the living shit out of Junior, thank God. Unfortunately doesn't kill him. Pam comes running, yelling Tommy's name. Tommy comes to from his blind rage, realizing what he's done, and takes off running into the woods. So Pam then tells Reggie they have to go, which, hey, Reggie was there to see his brother, and you kind of fucked all that by bringing along the
crazy person.
the mute, violent one. So they say their goodbyes to Demon and Nita, and then Pam and Reggie take off in the truck to look for Tommy. At least so I thought they took off in the truck to look for Tommy, but we'll find out something later. In the van, Spider, immediately they cut to Spider going, I miss him already. It's like, well, he's literally getting in the car outside the door right now. Nita, who's still smoking a joint.
Oh my God.
I feel that Nita may be self-medicating from some deep trauma from her past. At some point, just put it away and live in the moment, Nita.
Mm-hmm.
She just wouldn't stop. She smoked the whole time.
So she hands the demon the joint. He takes a hit, then grimaces, and Nita asks, what's wrong? Then Demon says, the only line I remember 40 years later, and if there's a t-shirt that has this line on it, I request anyone to send it to me. It's them damn enchiladas!
Damn enchiladas.
And then Demon does a green apple quick step across the trailer park courtyard to an aluminum siding built outhouse.
Oh my God. I couldn't tell. I was like, he's either going to shit or vomit everywhere or both.
And then immediately after Demon relieves himself with a long, happy post-shit moan, The outhouse starts shaking and Demon starts telling whoever it is that's doing it to stop. Nita then starts laughing, and we realize it's her. She tells him to lighten up.
Maybe Nita's the killer.
Maybe Nita's the killer. Then she starts serenading Demon as she starts with, ooh, baby, hey, baby, which is what all of us need when we're having explosive diarrhea, is someone to croon to us and expect a call back on the vocals, which he does, sitting on the toilet, and he goes right back with, ooh, baby, hey, baby.
But so weird. It's such a weird scene.
It's so weird.
Like, who wrote this? What is happening?
First of all, you got enchilada diarrhea. Nita can probably smell from outside the outhouse what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
And don't make the man sing while he's doing that. So Demon then raises an octave and does the next verse, but Nita doesn't respond. And Demon is immediately concerned. Then the outhouse starts shaking again, and he says, I told you this isn't funny. You're going to get it, bitch. Then he pulls up and zips his pants without wiping. An enchilada-induced diarrhea in leather pants, and I know Demon's not the guy that wear underwear.
And he lives in a van with no shower. There's no bidet in this outhouse.
We just witnessed him finish shitting. He hasn't wiped himself, people. We need something. Just show the man rolling with toilet paper up on his hand or something, because now I'm faced with this image of Demon with diarrhea in his leather pants as things are about to get worse.
And it's the second scene in the movie where somebody takes a shit and we have no idea how they wiped.
Right.
So
I doubt he was method like Corey, though.
Oh, God. For this, let's pray not. So he pulls his pants up, zips them, shit all over his ass. He throws open the door and sees Nita's bodies on the ground blocking it, and her throat's been slashed. So Demon, now terrified, recoils back inside the outhouse as a long steel spike keeps getting rammed through the outhouse walls. He stands up on the toilet. The spike comes through, and it cuts through his thigh, which that made me cringe when it went through the thigh. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
He falls down on the ground. He's crying and he's in a panic. Great performance.
Yep.
He's giving us a performance, just like Corey did, that this film does not deserve.
100%.
You feel for him so badly. Just hung out with his brother, just saw his girlfriend killed. Now he knows he's probably going to die. And finally, another spike goes through the wall and impales Demon through the stomach. Demon, our final connection to a far superior film from the same year, is gone.
Dang it.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
So Pam and Reggie return to camp. I just assumed that they were going to be driving around looking for Tommy, but they go back to camp. I guess she assumed Tommy was running back home. And back at camp, Stutterer, Jake, and Robin tell Pam that Matt, Dr. Matt, is gone, and Tina and Eddie haven't come back either. Pam tells the group she's going to go look for Matt and everybody else and puts Jake in charge.
This scene, I mean, Pam.
Oh, yeah.
God, it's so... I'm going to go back. You watch. Y'all stay here.
Reggie, I need you to go to sleep early, and I'm going to check.
When I come back. My brain just exploded. What is happening?
Let's get a check on who we've got. So we've got Jake the Stutterer. We've got Violet, the emo girl. We've got Robin, who's probably the least fleshed out of any of the characters, who's a good actress.
Hey, and you know what? She's a U.S. Olympic gymnast.
Is she really?
14 years before she got into acting.
Heck yeah.
Wow.
Juliette Cummins.
But yeah, she's the least fleshed out, and I guess this is her coming up as her one scene where we see her a little more fleshed out. So we've got Jake, we've got Violet, we've got Robin, and Reckless Reggie back at Pinehurst with everyone else unaccounted for. So we return to our comedic element back at Ethel Hubbard's farm, and Junior has shown back up after his beating from Tommy and is driving circles around the yard yelling, "He heard me, Ma! He heard me, Ma!"
God.
As Ethel Hubbard yells useless fucking dialogue from the kitchen, she yells for him to come in and eat her stew as she throws raw carrots and raw radishes into a pot that, if you notice, is not even on the goddamn stove. It's just on the counter. Come inside, eat the stew that's going to be ready in 2 hours. Again, just no attention to detail by these motherfuckers.
And him riding around on the motorcycle, it's like so insufferable. Like I was like, please, I need this scene to end.
Yeah, you're so right.
Yeah, he'd circle the yard, drive up on the porch, circle the yard, drive on the porch, just screaming and screaming and screaming. And as Junior takes another lap in the yard, thank God he's decapitated by a machete and we're rescued from 50% of this garbage couple that is Ethel and Junior.
Yes.
Then Ethel gives the dialogue to nobody bullshit that bad movies always do, speaking to who she thinks is her son. Like, hey, is that you? You piece of shit. Just keeps her eyes forward, not looking around, gets no answer, and continues talking until a hand with a meat cleaver crashes through the kitchen window, hitting her in the face, and she falls face first into her cold, uncooked pot of stew.
Yes. Good riddance to Ethel
Good
and
riddance.
Junior.
Ding dong. The witch and warlock of terrible one-dimensional characters are dead.
Mm-hmm. Face down in a cold, water-filled radish.
Face down,
Face down.
in a bowl of stew.
So bad.
Pam is out looking for half the missing characters, and the old truck breaks down on the road. So she takes off on foot, leaves the truck right in the middle of the road. I guess there's not much else you could do.
I'm going to take my little kitten heels and these little boots, and I'm going to walk back.
Back at Pinehurst, Jake and Robin are watching A Place in the Sun on television, the Montgomery Clift, Shelley Winters movie.
Yeah.
And Jake shoots his shot. He stutters through telling Robin that he wants to make love. He says, I want to make love with you. And Robin just starts laughing, and Jake stomps off crying upstairs. Or I guess I should say stomps off after being spritzed with a spray bottle instead of crying, because it's like he's misted.
Yeah, he's totally missed it.
It's almost glitter.
I think it's interesting that they chose A Place in the Sun, since that kind of film revolves around the drowning of one of its characters in a lake, which is the same fate as Jason.
One of the few attention to detail that's in this movie.
Yeah, the one smart thing they tried to put in here.
Yeah. He goes up to Violet's room and goes inside, and she's blasting music, dancing with herself. Ho, ho, ho.
And what is this music? How 80s is this? They were called pseudo echo.
I have heard of pseudo echo.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is so 80s. They're like, this is the coolest name. And they're like, what does it mean? And they're like, well, it's like a pseudo echo, but it's like an echo, but a pseudo one. You know, it's cool.
I dated a girl in high school who liked pseudo echo.
Oh, wow. They're Australian.
Oh, yeah, but I couldn't name you what any of that stuff, what it sounded like.
And what is her dancing? She's like, I'm doing the pop and lock thing, and I'm really bad at it. My eyes are bleeding at this point.
So he says he needs to talk to her. She says, not right now. Can it wait? He says no, leaves the room. As soon as he steps out in the hall, he gets whacked with a meat cleaver. That's it. So Jake is done.
Such a developed character. It's really sad to see him go.
He may be the least developed character. At least we get a little emotion from Robin in a second. But so all we know about him so far is he stutters and he wanted to have sex with a girl. That's about it.
Who laughed at him? Robin.
Who laughed at him?
So mean.
Downstairs, the movie ends and Robin checks on Reggie, who's asleep on the couch. She goes upstairs and to her room, disrobes, boobies.
Boobies, more boobies.
Immediately pulls off, I guess it looks like a robe. Is it a robe she's wearing?
Yeah, I was like, is that, yeah, I didn't catch that. I was like, I'm good at.
It came off so easy. So she goes to the mirror and apologizes to Jake, to herself in the mirror while topless, climbs up into her top bunk, still topless, and then rolls over to see Jake's bloody face, which at the time I thought it was a decapitated head. I don't think I saw his body. So she screams, she turns, then a hand reaches up, grabs her, holds her to the bed, and then a machete is stabbed up through the bed and through her, which is just a far less cool Kevin Bacon arrow to the throat. I mean, this movie's far less cool in every way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Friday the 13th Part 2, there's a spear up through the bed that's even done better. This is the afterbirth of Friday the 13th.
That was the original name, I think, the Afterbirth. Like that's
It should have been. God damn. To go back in time. Violet continues to dance like no one's watching, alone in her room. So the door opens to Violet's room and a man steps inside. We see his feet. She has her back to him. She turns around and He grabs her by the throat, pushes her against the wall, and stabs her with the machete. Again, just a lackluster, boring kill. Just stabs her in the stomach.
Yeah, it's almost like they're just, I mean, the whole point of all these films, and they just sort of rush through them, and I don't understand.
Yep, I don't either. Downstairs, Reggie wakes up on the couch. He goes upstairs, knocks on Tommy's door. I guess he's a Tommy knocker.
Oh, hey-oh.
I like that.
Goes in to find the bloody bodies of Robin, Violet, and Jake all piled on Tommy's bed. That was the first time I was like, oh, he didn't cut off Jake's head. He's just, guess he just slashed his throat.
And one of them has her boobs out, and then this child actor is looking at boobs.
Oh, man.
His mom was on set a lot, apparently.
Reggie gets a jump scare at the door by Pam, who has now returned and keeps asking him, what is it? What is it? What is it? What is it? And he just says, Tommy's room. And she says, stay here and relax. I'll be right back. Relax. The kid is so frightened he can't speak. Stay here and relax.
I just saw 3 dead bodies piled up on top of each other on a bed. I'm going to chill.
Yeah.
Thought the next shot was clever. So we're still looking at Tommy. She steps into the door. So she steps out of frame into Tommy's room. You don't hear anything, and then lightning crashes, and then she screams. So she didn't know that she couldn't see them until the lightning lit up the room. So the same way he saw them. I thought, oh, that's pretty clever. That we don't want to have to do the same shot. She screams. She and Reggie run downstairs, where Reggie trips and hurts his leg. And then Jason, in hockey mask and machete, bursts through the front door. The door explodes. So obviously it's Jason, because otherwise a man would have to have superhuman power to make a door explode. So obviously it's the real Jason. So, okay, good. I'll say now problem solved. If there's any dilemma about is this a whodunit? No, it's Jason, because a normal man couldn't make a door fucking explode.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the whole time I was like, Reggie, get the fuck up. What's wrong with you? Get up.
Yeah, she was like, get up.
And he's like,
piece of shit.
And I'm like, you didn't fall that hard. Just get up.
He was too relaxed.
Yeah, you're right.
Pam and Reggie run to the front door and out into the rainy night, out into the woods. They come out of the woods and see an ambulance on the road. They open the door, and out of the door falls the paramedic that, Kristen, you said you liked, who was told Roy to get his hands dirty.
Yeah, great actor.
Great actor. Jason shows up, standing in the street. Pam and Reggie get separated as they run into the woods. Reggie runs deep into the woods while Pam comes upon the body of Dr. Matt, who's been railroad spiked to a tree. That's probably a good one that was filmed that we didn't get to see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pam runs back to the house, and we get a jump scare as Reggie's grandfather is tossed through the window, the dead body of Reggie's grandfather. Again,
Right.
got to be Jason, because that would require superhuman strength to pick up a 180-pound human and throw them through a window.
Yeah. Did you notice on Pam's run, there was one of the runs where the scene was shot and she didn't have her sweater across her shoulders anymore. I was like, oh, she lost her sweater. And then the next scene it came back and I was like, oh, no, she found it again.
We all have one piece of clothing that no matter what happens or who's killing everybody around us, that we can't let go of.
Can't let go of that cardigan.
And she said to Jason, look, if you want to destroy my sweater, pull this thread as I frantically run away. Whoa.
Wow. Wow.
I told you, Christian. I told you.
I'm surprised because earlier you said lightning crashes, and I thought for sure you were going to sing that.
Lightning crash and old mother dies. I love it.
Yeah, the grandfather just got tossed through the window. Pam runs back. This is almost like House. She runs in the house. She runs out of the house. She runs in the house.
Yeah.
Pam runs back outside where Jason obviously is, because he just threw the body through the window. And Jason is chasing her. She's running. Jason's walking, but still making good ground. She falls down and she's crawling through the mud as Jason gets to her, raises the machete. And just as he's about to hit her with the machete, a bulldozer bursts through the side of the barn, driven by Reggie. And Jason looks startled, and it allows Pam to get away, even though he's like 30 yards away at this point. And he's like, hey, there's a bulldozer coming through the barn 30 yards over there. and just stands there.
Like
Pam scurries
Austin
away.
Powers when he's just like standing there and going,
exactly.
and it's like moving really slowly towards him, but he won't walk away.
Jason doesn't do anything. He just keeps standing there watching as Reggie gets closer and closer with this bulldozer that's going 12 miles an hour. And then it hits him. Doesn't run over him, but it hits him, knocks him back. And he's bleeding from his stomach. And he's holding his stomach because his stomach hurts because it's damn enchiladas.
Yeah. And also, I was surprised to find out that Reggie was bulldozer certified.
Everyone has to be trained to do everything on Mr. Matt's cult farm, Christian.
Reggie helps Pam to her feet. Jason is dead. Now everything's okay. It's over. The nightmare is over. They walk over to Jason's motionless body, of course, but Jason grabs Reggie's foot and Pam kicks him. And then they run away as Jason gets up, still holding his stomach. And they run into the barn, and Jason follows them into the barn. In the barn, Jason hears a noise, approaches the closed stable door where the noise came from, opens the door to find Pam with an already running chainsaw.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some soundproof fucking doors in
Yeah.
the
A
barn.
really nice
Yep.
barn door.
They didn't even give us a crank up. It's already running. We just can't hear it. And she steps out with her already running chainsaw, and they battle chainsaw on machete in a very lame back and forth battle. She chainsaws him across the arm. He's now been hit by a bulldozer and bleeding from the stomach. Now he's chainsawed on the arm, bleeding from the arm. So chainsaw dies, and Jason raises the machete, but she knocks him down by throwing the chainsaw at him.
But I was impressed by her because, you know, like my chainsaw, when I have to start it, it's like I have to put it on the ground to really, you know, pull the cord. And I'm just surprised at how, you know, she's a very strong woman.
She is. She's like Linda. I was thinking about Linda Hamilton the whole time.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So brave. So brave.
Mhm.
Brave.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy arrives. It's now Tommy versus Jason showdown again. Jason walks towards Tommy, raises the machete, and whacks Tommy across the chest. Tommy's just kind of stunned and lets it happen. Jason raises the machete to finish Tommy off, but Tommy quickly pulls out that big fat pocket knife of his and stabs Jason right in the inner thigh. That's gotta hurt, right on the inner thigh.
Oh, yeah.
So now, obviously, we know Jason is pretty much invincible in every Friday the 13th movie. He's now been run over by a bulldozer. He's been chainsawed across the shoulder, and now he's been stabbed in the thigh with a very big knife. So typical day in the life of Jason Voorhees. He just can handle all that stuff, right? Tommy joins Pam and Reggie in the loft, but Jason follows them up the ladder. And in the hayloft, Jason finds Tommy and assumes he's dead. Keeps searching for the other two, sees Reggie hiding. Reggie stands up to face him. He swings the machete down, but there's a board blocking them, which they've made sure that this plank that was across was in the shadows. So you think he's going to swing down and kill him, but it actually hits the plank. So while that's happening, Pam jumps up and battles with him for a bit, and they go back and forth. She hits him with a pipe or something, but not to much effect. But while they're standing at this opened hayloft window, Reggie pushes Jason out the window, and he falls. And we look down, and we'd already seen like a row where there's some piece of farm equipment that has a bunch of spikes on it. And we assume that he's fallen the spikes. Reggie and Pam step out to look to see if his body's there. They don't see him. And then hand comes up and Jason grabs Reggie's leg. So he's been hanging on outside the window. He's grabbed Reggie's leg and he's dragging Reggie with him like they're about to both fall out of the barn. I was holding onto Reggie, trying to pull him back as Jason's holding onto Reggie's leg. Tommy comes to, grabs Jason's machete and whacks off Jason's hand, sending him to his peril on the ground below on those spikes. Jason is dead, but the mask has fallen off, and we see it isn't Jason. At this point, I'm not 100% sure who it is. I didn't recognize who it is.
No, I didn't. I was like, who's that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He knew exactly what Jason Voorhees looked like to all of us, and he had a mask that covered his hair and the sides of his face underneath the hockey mask. So attention to detail, not for the movie so much, but for this character, whoever he is, we don't know yet.
Mm-hmm.
We're at the hospital. The sheriff shows up, and he's speaking to Reggie and Pam, or more to Pam. Reggie's asleep in Pam's lap.
Well, that is his girlfriend, so I mean, it makes sense.
That's true. The sheriff tells Pam that the kid hacked to death at the woodpile was Roy's son, Roy, the paramedic. That's who we're supposed to already understand was Jason.
They said it, and I still didn't know.
Yeah, like such a throwaway character. I remember being let down whenever I first saw this movie, and then, you know, when I watched it 20 years later, and now watching it another 20 years later.
You talking to me, Sheriff? Are you talking to me? Were you talking to me? When you said those words, were you talking to me? No, Roy, you're a secondary character. Why would I be talking to you? Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking to me, Sheriff. Sorry.
But when you rewatch it, you realize in that scene where the chubby kid gets killed and we first see Roy, you see like how weird his face is, and they're really like they're trying to sell it. Which, you know,
Right.
you know, because every character in this movie is such a throwaway character, you know, you go through the whole movie like you don't even remember who that is.
It's been so long since I'd seen it that I was like, honestly, I really don't remember how this one ends. They all kind of, there's so many of them, right? Like I was like, I can't remember this one. I remembered it was bad, but I couldn't remember exactly what happened.
I knew he was the father of a character, but I couldn't remember who his child was until rewatching it.
You know, it mentions how his kid grew up in an orphanage, but somehow now all of a sudden he cares about his kid.
It just makes zero fucking sense. Your son is sitting here at a loony bin. You're a paramedic. I mean, there's just zero backstory. None of it makes any sense at all.
I picture a screenwriter pitching the script to the producers, and he's like walking through the whole script, and they're like, love it, love the softcore porn. Yes, we're keeping that in. We're going to go more gruesome kills than ever before. Love it. So we get to the end, and then the big reveal. So this is whodunit. Yep, love it. We'll make sure we get a director that really sells that this is a whodunit. Got it, love it, keep going. And then the big reveal is it's the fat kid with chocolate on his mouth's dad. And they're like, let's put a pin in that. I liked everything up until that. We'll change that when we get there. But yeah, like everything else, the porn, definitely. But no, we're not doing that. That's ridiculous. No one's going to know who that character is. And we're not going to cast a guy that looks like Jay Leno to play him either. Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
You know, I mean, this movie it just feels like a failure on so many levels. And I do wonder, I'm like, $2.2 million in 1985 bucks. Where did that money go?
This movie opened number one, you know, despite being just so mocked later. But
Well, Milli Vanilli won Grammys.
that's true.
So the sheriff tells Pam that the kid was Roy's son. He was a real loner. He also finds articles about Camp Crystal Lake in Roy's wallet. So that was what gave him the inspiration to pattern his murder spree like it was Jason Voorhees. Pam goes into Tommy's hospital room to check on him. He's sleeping. He wakes up and then immediately pulls out a machete and stabs Pam. And then he wakes up and it's yet another bad dream. He's alone in the hospital room. Then he looks to the foot of bed, and there's Jason, covered in blood with a machete, the real Jason. But then the image fades away. So Tommy rips out his IV, goes to the cabinet in the room, and pulls out a Jason mask. He has somehow taken the Jason mask from the scene. Now Pam really does come into his room, opens the door, and here's a crash as she's opening the door, opens the door and sees the window smashed out, assumes Tommy has jumped through the window. But Tommy steps behind her with the hockey mask on and a knife and kills her. Movie's over. That's it. What a big roar of applause that we just gave this movie. Guys, where'd everybody go? Did your mics die? Hey, can we get an audio check? Everybody's mics just went out.
I can't.
I watched this movie twice for you guys.
I usually do, Christian. This time I was like, I am not fucking watching this movie twice. And so I just watched it once. And
Okay, question for you guys. I was already a fan of you guys as people and a fan of the podcast now, but is this the worst movie that you've covered on the podcast?
Yes.
This is worse than The Wolf of Snow Hollow?
This 100%, this is the worst movie
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it takes the cake so far. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I could be here for that.
I feel unfortunate that the film that we chose to celebrate the life of Corey Parker happens to be so awful, but it's the only film of his that is in the vein
It's
of
Close to the genre.
this podcast.
Going back to your podcast in general, I mean, I grew up always drawn to horror movies, and my parents, they just let us watch anything. And so, like, we would go to the video store and I would just like pick out movies based on how crazy the cover looked, you know? And so I saw things like this movie, like when it came out, I was like 8 years old. And so I saw this movie back then, you know, it's just the earliest age, and I just grew up. But even as an 8-year-old, I was like, this movie sucks.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's awful. That's Friday the 13th, part 5,
The Afterbirth.
The Afterbirth. Yes.
So many missed opportunities. You could have made a good movie given the resources that they had. And it just feels lazy. I mean, even without like the interesting kills, you know, even if they did have to cut a bunch out of it, you know, it's still like the writing is bad, and it could have been a good movie.
They really did just beat it to death, and it became a cash cow that they kind of bring out from time to time.
This story and this film is as undercooked as Ethel stew.
Speaking of, Christian, to wrap up the show, what we typically do is we'll do 3 questions and kind of just summarize how we feel about certain things.
Well, my first question was like, what's your favorite kill or just completely insane moment in the movie?
The road flare in the mouth.
I was going to give a nod to Corey's. I did think it was cool because you actually kind of got to watch his throat, you know, kind of being slashed.
Mine would be the flare in the throat. The fact that it lit up his cheeks, I liked. They had to glow up a prosthetic head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it felt the most involved. I mean, because so many of the kills just felt so lazy, and it's just like, oh, they get stabbed off camera with a machete, and now they're dead.
2.1 of the $2.2 million budget went to that head.
So what do you think the cocaine budget was on this movie? Because it is the mid-'80s.
No, I mean, seriously, they were talking about how Danny Steinman, like, was on coke like the whole time and had to like really dial it back when Shavar Ross's mom was on set. He had to like be careful.
God. Dude, hide your coke from the child actor's mom. Be professional.
Boy, oh boy. So my next question is our elevator pitch question. So if you were trying to convince a friend to watch this movie, what would your elevator pitch be? What's the hook for Friday the 13th, part 5?
So you're doing an elevator pitch because if your friend doesn't watch this movie, they don't know this, they're going to die. It's the only reason you would pitch this movie.
If it's a male friend, I'm just going to say boobs. I mean, you know.
No, that's fair. And what if it's a female friend? Depending on the female friend, you might also say boobs.
And not to go too Joe Bob Briggs on this, but there are 3 sets of boobs in this for those scoring at home.
Sure.
You know, mine was, this is the messy, sleazy, totally unhinged Friday the 13th, where the movie tries to pull off a fake mystery twist and absolutely loses its mind in the process.
But if you look at the comments on the trailer on YouTube, there are plenty of people who chime in and say, this is my favorite of the series.
I saw it on Reddit too. I saw people just saying, I fucking love this one.
Well, how?
Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one.
What other movies do you like?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some really dumb movies that I like because I was young.
Same.
Yeah, it could be nostalgia.
Yeah, people say, was it great or were you 8?
I like that.
I think your elevator pitch is better though, boobs.
My pitch would be watch the first of many times that Friday the 13th jumped the shark.
Mm-hmm.
Once they did this one, like, oh, fuck, let's put him in space. Let's let him fight Freddy. Let's just everything. So this was that first one where they're just like, fuck it.
But you know what? It's better than the reboot that they did whenever that was, 2010, 2009, something like that. This is better than the reboot, which is weird.
And sad that you're going to greenlight something and just continue to shit on a franchise.
So recommendation, would you recommend this to everyone? I have a feeling I know what we're going to say to this, or only to a very specific kind of horror fan. What is the right audience? Who is the right audience for this Friday the 13th part 5 film?
Like, if you're going to be a completist, and, you know, and me and a friend watched the whole series, every movie, and like, if you're going to do that, it's like, you got to go through it. Yeah. That's the only way I would recommend this.
I agree. If you're going to be a completist and you're just that person and you gotta finish it out, you got to watch it, then it's got to be on the list. If you love slashers and 80s franchise nonsense and boobs, let's do it.
Yeah, same. No other reason would I recommend it.
So that's it. That's all I got. That's all she wrote.
All right. Well, there it is. Friday the 13th, new beginning, the afterbirth.
Thank you for having me. I will probably never watch this movie again.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing this, Christian. Thanks again for agreeing to do this movie in honor of Corey. And look, we all know this. We're movie fans. We know if it's a shitty movie, you can still find joy in watching shitty movies. Some of our probably guilty pleasures are shitty movies. And I don't regret ever watching a movie. I don't. It's just even, I always find some enjoyment out of it, even if it's...
Even Battlefield Earth?
I never saw it.
I still haven't seen it either. There's a few movies I regret. I have like a list of like the 5 worst movies I've ever seen. Number 1, Oppenheimer. I'm not joking.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Christian, thank you again for doing this, brother. I appreciate it. It was great talking to you. It was great getting to enjoy this terrible movie with you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Christian.
Good to see you, my man.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Christian Walker.
Isn't he the best?
He is the best.
He's so great.
Yeah, I didn't know you guys had known each other that long.
Oh my gosh, so long. Such a good guy, such a good human, a good person, a great filmmaker. I had so much fun working on Hallelujah Station with him. It's a great movie. It's so good. So I'm really proud of him for the work that he's been doing.
Yeah, I think we neglected to give him the opportunity to promote, and I feel bad now. But do you know where Hallelujah Station is in like the festival circuit?
I do not. We're assholes.
We are assholes. We're glad everybody stuck with us through Friday the 13th, A New Beginning. Tribute to Corey Parker, who again we lost last week, and our thoughts go out to his family.
Absolutely.
All right, Lindsey. How about we do this again in a couple of weeks?
Let's do it.
Bye, Lindsey.
Okay. Bye.
All music for this podcast is provided by MKE. To hear more of his music, visit his band's website at detectivemusic.com and Detective on Spotify.